What's happening, fishing friends? Welcome to another episode. Today I'm excited because we have a reel unboxing slash initial review from Lew's. This is the Lew's HyperSpeed Speed Spool LFS, a 9.5 to 1 gear ratio reel. We're going to take an up close look at this one. I will tell you why I got it. There's some things on this reel that I think will lend well to trying it for frogging and see. Of course, I'm going to give you what I think are the pros and cons to this reel, kind of how and where I'm going to use it. And then I will give you my final thoughts, kind of what I think on the reel without even getting it out yet. And you might think, Debo, how are you going to do that? Well, I have a few reels, and I feel like after you use reels long enough, you can kind of tell after you take them out and look at a few things. And I know people ask me, what is this behind me? Well, that's a whole big, huge wall of reels. So I feel like I know enough to be dangerous. And I'm just a huge gear nerd, and I like to look at new reels and gear. So enough yapping, let's take a closer look at this reel. All right, here we have the Lew's HyperSpeed Speed Spool LFS. Out of the box, I do like the red color. It's a beautiful reel, kind of that candy red with just a little bit of glitter in it. As I said before, I feel like companies have got away from that, doing, cool paint jobs. The old Shimano Corrados, the E series, looks like some sort of sports car. And that's what kind of turned me onto this one. I'll be honest. I don't usually like, bright, shiny, crazy colored reels, but the paint on this one's pretty sweet. Now, this reel comes in at 6.9 ounces, which is, respectable, under 7 ounce for an aluminum frame and aluminum handle side plate. I dig that. This only comes in a 9.5 to 1 gear ratio in left to right hand, and that means this is bringing in 40 inches per turn. So for every one turn at the handle, you're bringing in 40 inches of line. Speaking of line, this holds 120 yards of 12-pound monofilament, and this is the standard 34 millimeter spool, so kind of the standard spool size for the Lew's LFS, this type of low-profile reel. It's got 9+1 bearings. Now, I'm not huge on bearings because it really depends on what kind of bearings you have and where they put them, but this is a 9+1, so a 10 total bearing system. As I already said, it's got the aluminum frame and the aluminum handle side plate, which I think is key for frog fishing or, jig fishing, anything where you're continuously setting the hook hard, or any baits where you're putting a lot of stress on the reel by cranking and get in, anything with a lot of drag, where you need a little bit more torque. Now, with this reel, it's not going to have the torque being a higher speed reel, but it's going to be a lot more solid feel in hand with that aluminum frame and aluminum handle side plate. As I covered in my LFS review, the new LFS, this does have the P2, which is a bearing supported pinion gear. Just helps it feel a little bit more stable and solid. This has the externally adjustable 6-pin, which equals out to be a 27 position on this little crank or knob here that you turn to adjust your brakes. 27 positions on there. This is the quiet cast. To get into it, you just pull this little pin out here and then twist the handle side plate, and that opens it up and you can take a look at the inside. And they have improved these brakes a lot. I know they did have the externally adjustable centrifugal brakes before that were pretty noisy, but this system works well. I've got the other, I forget what the other $199 reel is. I really like it too. So the brakes work well. And you don't ever have to actually open the side plate to get in. It's all adjusted from the outside. Now, this does have your standard aluminum handle, 95 millimeter with the EVA knobs. I like these. I know my dad doesn't like this type. This is completely a preference thing. I like these EVA knobs over the old flat LFS, rubbery knobs. I prefer the EVA, but it just depends. Now, the spool tension knob on this does click. Aluminum star drag, the drag clicks as well. And this is putting out 20 pounds of drag, so definitely enough to do any sort of fish stopping with a frog or jig. I usually lock my drag all the way down and lock the reel on like frog fishing anyway. Some people say not to, but listen, when I'm running 65-pound braid, I want to hit them hard, get those hooks in, and get them back to me as soon as I can. Now, this also has the speed keeper hook keeper down here on the frame. I thought this was kind of a gimmick, kind of stupid at first when I've had the first one from Lew's, but I tell you what, I use it a lot because I am guilty of being one of the guys who loves to hook the lure up here on the top of the frame, and it scratches it up, and you can potentially get it in the line guide. I haven't had issues with it, but so the speed keeper I think does come in handy. You just hook it on there, it's open. I like it. Okay, so let's talk about the pros and cons of this reel. So for number one, I think construction on this reel, having the aluminum frame and the aluminum handle side plate is huge. That's honestly not something you find in a lot of Lew's. I know I've said that before, but even going all the way up to like the Lew's Hypermag, beautiful reel, awesome reel, magnesium frame, super light, but this has, I believe, the C45 carbon side plates on it. This guy with an aluminum frame and aluminum handle side plate, it just means that there's going to be less bending, less flexion in that side plate when you set that hook hard and you're grinding a fish out of slop and, muck and stuff. Now, on the other end of that, I'm going to go to a positive, right to a negative. This is a higher speed gear ratio. 9.5 to 1 is not what you would think of as a reel with a lot of torque, right? Usually a lower gear ratio reel. 6-speed, I used a 6-speed. That Daiwa Tatula 200 was like a 6.3 to 1 last year. Worked completely fine for me, but I've had a lot of people say, oh, you want a high speed ratio reel. So that's why I wanted to get this, was just to kind of try it and see, am I gonna feel a big difference having that fast of a reel? Is it gonna be like a pain to crank? Now, one thing I wanna do is add some of the Gomexus power handles on here, and you can see what a difference that makes as far as size. Sorry, it's focusing on my hat. As far as size, it gives you an extra bit of room, 110 millimeter, as opposed to the 95 millimeter. And the big thing I like about these Gomexus knobs, I'm going to toot their horn a little bit, is how much longer the actual knob is. For frog fishing, you can really grab it and really grind those fish out. So I am going to put that on here. So we'll see. Low gear ratio versus higher gear ratio. Comment below and let me know what you think. I've used 7-speed reels. I think I did use an 8-speed reel for a while. And the next big thing I like about this is the size. The Lew's LFS, lighter, faster, stronger. The size of this reel is awesome in hand. If you look at this in the palm of my hand, I hold my pinky just behind the reel trigger here. Hold this in hand. This is the Kistler Frog and Toad, the KLX specific. Look at that. That black and red together, oh my golly. But the fit in hand of this, they're so small, and usually, I go with a beefier rod. I like a heavy rod, 65-pound braid. It's gonna be a bigger, beefier rod, and once you get this in hand, it feels really good in hand. The Lew's LFS reels, if you've got smaller hands, are like a real compact feel, especially when I'm gonna hit that fish hard and be pulling it back to me. I really like the way this fits. Of course, I set my finger up here. The thing I like about the Kistler KLX Kistler rods is they have the like a foam piece here. So when I lay my finger here, even when I'm not jigging, I tend to do this, but feel the line, I can put it right there, and it's a nice soft spot, and everything just fits right down in my hand. It feels like a little tiny reel, so you can hit them hard, have a good, positive grip on the combo, and not worry about fumbling around and, trying to hold it. The next big thing about this reel, I think, is overall it does a lot of stuff good. It might not be like top of the tier on stuff, but it does a lot of stuff good. These externally adjustable centrifugal brakes, this QuietCast ACB brake system works really well. I've got it on a number of other reels it works good on. As far as the like the spool tension and everything, it clicks nice and positive. It doesn't have that cheap feel to it. The thumb bar, when you press it down, good positive click. There's no sort of weird play or slop. I feel like it does everything pretty darn well on this reel when you feel it. Now, it might not be a $500 Metanium or $400 something Metanium, but for $199, I am really happy that Lew's did the aluminum frame, the aluminum handle side plate. Everything just feels pretty solid on this reel. The last big pro of the reel, I gotta give her props for looks. You all know I am not a looks guy. I like black and silver, like the boring reels, but I appreciate that they're bringing this old school kind of cool colors back. It's got that kind of race car red with the red glitter all over in it. It's a slick looking reel. I'm glad that they put kind of a cool, fast, paint job on it. It looks like a Corvette or something. Now, of course, that does nothing for performance, but it looks cool. I like that they put points in that, because there's some reels where I feel like they're like $200 and they look kind of crummy. So I'm glad they put a little bit in the paint, kind of spices it up. Okay, now getting into the cons of the reel, again, the speed. I know I feel like I've come back and forth to this a million different times, but this only comes in the 9.5 to 1 speed. So it's a fast reel. Somebody like Aaron Martins, rest his soul, awesome angler, just recently passed away. But he was an advocate for higher speed reels. He said, I always go with like 8-speed or higher because I can slow down with a reel. It's a lot harder to speed up with a slow reel. That was just his mentality, and that dude was meticulous in his tackle stuff. There's other people, you go on the other side of the spectrum, and they'll say if you go anything above a 6-speed, you're doing it wrong, you're losing torque. Completely depends on the person that you talk to, but we're going to see, is this 9.5 to 1 speed going to lose torque and have an issue trying to get those fish out of all the, slop and muck? Is it just going to feel like I have no power? A lot of times you'll see people in that stuff, that muck, they'll pull the fish hard and then they'll kind of reel down on it and pull the fish harder and pull down on it because they don't have that torque. It's not like a 4x4 truck and super low, 4-wheel drive where you can just go through anything. So I don't know. We're gonna see how that is. Now, just because I'm using it for frogging doesn't mean you couldn't use it for other things. I mean, I think this will be a slick buzzbait reel. If this fails at frogging for being, not having enough torque, that 9.5 to 1 speed, as soon as you get it out there, it's bringing 40 inches in. over a yardstick worth of line for every one handle turn. That just brought a yardstick of line in, which is crazy to think about. You know, you throw a buzzbait out there, and if you just give that rod tip a little pull as you're bringing it to you after you cast and reel down to it, you're going to take up that slack in no time. So even though I am using it for frogging, I think this would be a crazy good buzzbait reel where you're not just overworking yourself, you know, doing a little 6-speeds reel. I think this would be good for it. Okay, the next con to this reel is it's only on Tackle Warehouse. So this is a Tackle Warehouse exclusive reel. That's not necessarily a bad thing unless you're somebody who likes to get your hands on it, try it. But I tell you what, this is basically the LFS frame. If you look at a Lew's LFS, this is it. This is the exact same frame. Hold on, let me check. Yeah, in case you're wondering, I went and grabbed the old LFS. The size on these is exactly the same. So if you can't get your hands on this, obviously, go grab one of the new Lew's LFSs. And the size on these is exactly the same. I was going to put the side plate on, but it's a righty versus a lefty. Yes, I use both right and left-handed reels. I use both, but the size is the exact same on those. So though you can't get your hands on this anywhere, I know some people would like to look at it and check it out in store. It is only available on Tackle Warehouse. And of course, the good folks at Tackle Warehouse partnered up with me, so I'll leave my link down below. I don't have a code for anything off, but anything you buy from the links below, I do get a little bit of that back, and it helps support my channel. So anybody that uses those, I appreciate you a ton. Okay, the last thing I would say for a con to this reel is I wish they would have put a little bit bigger handle and knobs on. Now, this is completely a preference thing because I know some people don't like the bigger handle knobs, but I feel like with a reel this fast, you're usually going to be doing a lot of cranking and grinding, and a little bit longer knob like this one. This is the one from Gomexus. It just makes cranking and grinding the lure a lot easier. Now again, this is completely personal preference. My dad's not big on those big, huge handles. I know there's a lot of people that are not, but I would have liked to have seen that on here. I feel like for what I'm going to be using this for, it just would have made sense. But again, that would have added more cost and all that kind of stuff. But you know, that's kind of my nitpicky deal on this. I wish they would have added that. So in conclusion, I think this is going to be a pretty dang solid reel. I am completely frozen over here. It was 9 degrees out today. I was going to go out and do some casting tests, and I'm like, no. So I'll have this out this spring. I'm definitely going to be doing some casting comparisons, seeing how some of these reels compete against each other while the water is still kind of in the iffy zone. Some casting stuff in the parking lots and stuff is fun because I like to see, you know, what's the distance? Just, it's not completely scientific, but it's fun. So comment below and let me know, what do you think of the new Lew's HyperSpeed Speed Spool LFS reel? It's a looker. I think it's going to be a pretty solid reel. Unless you hate high gear ratios, then you'll hate it. All right, tonight's subscribe fishing friend is my guy, Pat Fahey. Pat just recently won an Instagram giveaway. I was Instagram live and doing some bait making out there. He won. He has always supported me, and I noticed that, you know, when people are always in my live chats or, you know, always in my videos commenting, I noticed that. I am super behind on comments, but hopefully like this. I've got a bunch more, you know, gear reviews, unboxing stuff, even stuff that I've used for a whole year. For example, comparing some of the old LFS customs to the new one that I got. Comment below and let me know what gear review you all want to see, whether it's rod, reel, whatever it is. Comment below and let me know, and if there's one that completely stands out, I will make a point to do that next. But that is enough for me tonight. I appreciate you all watching. Thank you all for supporting me, no matter what I'm doing, ice fishing, gear reviews. I love the gear reviews. I'm a huge gear nerd, so if anybody's got any gear that they want me to review, please let me know, because it's fun. So I gotta get to editing. Thank you all so much for watching, and until next time.